folks, it's been an interesting weekend and bone dry as well. As I predicted, Hurricane Arthur waltzed past New England and took all of the moisture with it, so it's been bone dry, like desert weather around here for the last few days. So after the whole hurricane thing, actually no, a few days, since Saturday basically. So it's great to be able to use window fans. Unfortunately, instead of air conditioners, but unfortunately, computers are still affected by dry heat. So I may wind up putting the AC back in, even if it's hot and dry. But yeah, good to save some electricity at least when I'm not doing anything too intense on these systems. So yeah, been having some problems with allergies because stuff's actually staying floating in the air now, as well as itchy skin like it's wintertime because it went from that humid to that dry. So you might see me like do that a little every so often in this vlog today. So okay, it's been an interesting weekend to say the very least, relaxing, great holiday and stuff like that. And I made my little secondhand trip yesterday to see what was floating in the around in the secondhand stores. And to say the very least, the trip was a total disaster. Yeah, there's a couple of things that I completely forgot about when I was making that trip and driving around, ultimately having to salvage the trip by going to Walmart, of all places. I'm usually more of a Target person, but yeah, Walmart was closer, so I just salvaged the trip by picking up some things there. But yeah, it was a total disaster. There was a couple of things that I totally forgot about when I decided to go check out the secondhand market, see what they had for electronics and stuff like that. For one thing, these channels that I've been watching, hey, someone's mowing their lawn. For one thing, these channels that I've been watching are mostly out on the West Coast. Washington State, California, Arizona, Vegas. There's more geek culture, more widely spread out. And even without the whole West versus East thing, where here in New England we have, what, Massachusetts for geek culture? MIT, Wentworth, etc. We have that in terms of a hub for technology, but yeah. We don't exactly have the stuff like what Revision 3's neck of the woods has out in California and stuff. But anyways, that's painting with too broad of a brush. Another notable difference is that there's probably more money floating around in some of these places where some of these channels are going yard sailing, whereas out here we've got poor farmers and stuff. And the flea market that I went to alongside the thrift stores wasn't exactly the best place to go in terms of looking for old games, because it's kind of out of the way. It doesn't have all that great of a location, and the demographics, it's a lot less built up around there than it is around another flea market. There's another flea market that I could have gone to that's in an area that's more built up, and they have more vendors and booths, so I might find more retro games there, but I imagine it's probably a reseller charging eBay prices, which is something that anybody with half a brain in their head should not settle for, because, I mean, if you're going to get online prices, you might as well just buy the stuff online, blow off the vendors overcharging, and not burn $4 a gallon gas to haul yourself out there, and maybe they won't have any of what you're looking for, that kind of thing. Okay, so here's how it all went. It was just a disaster. I totally forgot. Besides those two things, I also forgot about the whole issue with social media and Facebook. You know how there's Facebook depression nowadays, where people, they follow someone on Facebook or they friend someone on Facebook, and then that person cliff notes all the positive stuff in their life, and basically if you're following someone via Facebook, you'll learn about all the good stuff, but you're never going to find out about anything that's going wrong in their life because they're just plain not going to post it. Well, I kind of ran into something like that too with these videos where, yeah, sure, it looks like these people are finding all these retro games at all these yard sales, but what's not being mentioned is that they're only filming when they find stuff, not when they drive around to yard sale after yard sale after yard sale and walk away empty-handed. So that's kind of something that I forgot. Either way, the trip was interesting to say the very least. It really gives me a pulse on just what the deal is with secondhand stuff around here. So the first place I went to was this thrift store that just opened up. I've been driving past it for the last few weeks, and the owner just started the place up. I think it might be related to a flea market that's right next door. Maybe a disgruntled former flea market person is now just running a thrift store, because the flea markets around here are mostly weekend events. So someone who's curious about selling stuff during the week, the odds are they will probably be trying to make a thrift store or something like that. So yeah, this person, they haven't been in business very long. I went to check the place out, and They had like dollar DVDs, which looked interesting because, hey, you just want to see a bunch of movies on the cheap, just get some DVDs and upscale them for $1 each. They're not too scratched up. And if you like them, get the Blu-ray. That's kind of what I've been doing lately. I've been joking about DVD becoming dollar store video disc for quite some time, and while I have yet to see first-hand DVDs at the $1 mark. I have gotten movies for $3 from Big Lots before, though. The secondhand shops find something in decent condition for $1. All DVDs $1. Interesting. Might check that out later if I want to watch some movies or something like that. Or maybe the guy will sell, maybe I can sell old movies to him for 50 cents. It'll flip for $1 or something like that. Just get some old DVDs off my hands. But yeah, not really too much of interest. A couple Nintendo 64 games, but they were mostly sports games. And sports games were a dime a dozen. And I imagine they probably have a hard time selling because how many people out there really want to relive 1998 in the NFL or something? NFL, not Madden 98 on Nintendo 64 of all platforms. Yeah, not too many people that I know of. There's some people that just collect stuff just to collect it. They just have to have everything, but I'm not one of those people. I actually want to get games that I actually want to play. Or, I'm not really too caught up in the whole eBay scene where people buy stuff cheap and then flip it on eBay or something like that. But yeah. So, right. Anyways, so the store wasn't all that interesting. They did have some cables here and there. There were some composite cables and things like that. RGB and component cables floating around. Basically, secondhand cables that I could probably get on the cheap from there as well. Because as we know, the first-hand stores and the big boxers love to rip people off on cables. Looking forward to the day when this guy gets some secondhand HDMI cables to sell dirt cheap. That would give Monoprice a run for their money. Just go buy a couple of bucks tops instead of getting ripped off in the stores. That'll attract some business. Yeah, so if I was running a secondhand store, I wouldn't run what this guy was running. He basically had knickknacks from like cleaning out like repossessed houses and storage units and stuff like that. And he's gonna get stuck with a lot of inventory that doesn't move very fast. I can see it now. I mean, things like rusty saws from someone's old tool shed that he managed to get a hold of and he's trying to sell for a couple of bucks. Who's going to buy a rusty saw? It's not like first-hand saws that aren't rusty are super expensive or anything. And I'm not talking like saw blades for a power saw either. I'm talking like little hand saws. Rusted all the heck. Guys trying to sell them. So, yeah, it wasn't all that interesting of a store. I might go back later on to check out some of those dollar DVDs if I want to watch some movies anytime soon, or see if I can unload some of my old DVDs that I don't really give two flips about, and get rid of some old movies that way. But yeah, yeah, really, it wasn't all that exciting. The second thrift store that I went to was this person's competitor, and I understand from the locals that the person running this thrift store is a bit of a moron. Lady that runs the place isn't exactly a little bit like this. And I went to go check out that store because I've been driving past it for the past couple of months without actually stopping in and seeing what's there. And what do you know? So I go to check the place out, and I basically had it confirmed. Yes, the lady that runs this store is an absolute moron because the store was closed on a weekend. Closed on a Saturday afternoon with absolutely beautiful weather yesterday. Exactly the kind of weather that people who are going to go flea marketing and yard sailing are going to be out and about in. All the flea markets are weekend events around here. Thrift stores that aren't run by morons are open on the weekends around here. What the heck was this lady's problem? Does she want to stay in business? I'm guessing not. Wow, How many times when I was a little kid did my Saturdays get ruined? Here I was wanting to play Nintendo games all day or go hiking in the woods or something, and nope, I had to get dragged along by my folks because they wanted to go out yard sailing, or I had to go to a sitter's house and the sitter went out yard sailing as a way to get me out of the house or something like that, or to make her job easier. So how many times did I get stuck going yard sailing on a weekend? I mean, back in the day when I was, and this is something, it wasn't just like local flea markets either. We actually would go all the way out to Rhode Island sometimes, look around Rhode Island, like Rocky Hill Flea Market back in the day, and I'd get some fried dough and Dell's frozen lemonade. But this kind of weather, especially what we had yesterday as opposed to the warmer weather we're having today, someone's hammering some stuff. Maybe I shouldn't do these vlogs with the windows open. But this kind of weather is exactly the sort of weather that I would have found myself wandering around a flea market, bored all the heck with my folks, if this were, or a sitter, if if this were years and years and years ago. So I don't get it. Why this lady's not open on weekends? Maybe, I don't know, is she trying to be clever for being clever's sake? Who's going to stop at a thrift store on the way home from work? Especially me working 12 to 8 next week. Is she still going to be open at 8:30 at night? Probably not. So, me checking out what that store has is going to have to be delayed a little longer. So, I wonder how many other people aren't shopping there because of the screwball hours like this. I mean, yeah, sure, there is competition, but people that are going to go yard sailing or flea marketing tend to kind of go in loops. They tend to like go check this place out for an hour, then that place out for an hour, and then this. So it's not like it's totally competitive. Plus, we're talking secondhand stuff here. It's not like a bunch of big box stores selling the exact same stuff. You know, stuff finds its way in and out of these places. There's more of a reason to casually visit these secondhand stores if you're looking for certain items. So, I don't know. Locally, I know that the lady running this place is a bit of an idiot, and yeah, I now know for a fact that she's an idiot because in perfect yard sailing weather, the store is closed. Whatever. I give that place 1 to 2 years tops before it goes out of business. And maybe the competitor down the street gobbles up whatever business they had. Because really, I mean, understand when people go shopping at secondhand stores, like, for example, on a weekend when the weather's great and they have nothing better to do, before you start trying to actually have a business that does that stuff. What a mess. The next place that I went to was a flea market that my dad's a big fan of. Basically, some couple, I don't know how they make any money. It's in a bad location. But they went and, maybe the chainsaw broke and their hillbillies are chopping up wood for a bonfire with a good old-fashioned axe. But no, that sounds more like a hammer than an axe. But anyways, yeah, so the next place I went was this flea market that my dad's a big fan of. Basically, I don't know how the family that runs this place makes any money. They basically bought up an old rundown mill, which here in Connecticut, there's plenty of them around, except most of them are way bigger than this place. This wasn't that big of a mill back in its day, but I guess they bought up an old rundown mill, and they fixed it up enough to get it up to code where people could be in it again, and now they have a little flea market in there. And it was mostly like knickknacks and clothes and stuff that would have come from like estate auctions and stuff like that. So ratty old furniture, little porcelain, glasses, silverware, collectibles, things like that. You know how if you see people wandering around a flea market, they see something that looks cute or something like that, like a little porcelain bell with like Betty Boop on it or something. Oh, this is so cute. How much does this cost? Oh, $1? Okay. And then it sits in their house for 25 years before eventually finding its way back to a flea market, and the circle of flea marketing continues and continues and continues. Cycle of flea marketing, whatever. So, yeah. This was by far the most interesting stop, though, because I could tell from their inventory that these folks didn't care where their stuff came from. Some of it was a little seedy and shady. For example, I spotted some cable and telecom equipment there that even still had the asset tags as belonging to the cable company. And it's not old equipment either. So, there's only, as far as I'm concerned, if they're trying to sell that stuff for $5, there's only 3 reasons why it's there. Either it's incompatible, which some of this stuff was current, so I know that's not the case. It's broken, like lightning damage stuff they're trying to find some sucker to buy up for $5. Or it's hot, as in stolen. In the case of the cable equipment, that could be the case because the ratty cable company we have out here in the middle of nowhere that I tried working for, and the worst job I've ever had. What a mess that was. Bad memories coming back. They rent. They don't sell equipment. They rent their stuff. So, but maybe what happened was someone shut down their service, and they didn't bring the equipment back. They were charged for it. They paid the charges. The cable company's like, whatever. Okay, you paid for your lost equipment, and then the equipment wound up at the flea market. It'd be kind of funny though if someone bought it and tried to use it, and then, hey, I got this piece of cable equipment at a flea market, and it looks like it's one of yours. What? Oh yeah, that thing's been out of our system for the last couple of years. I don't know. I don't expect the cable company to be all that organized. Actually, put that stuff back in the system though. So, rip-offs galore. Also, in terms of the seediness as well, I was looking through some of the music CDs, then I spot Memorex CDR. You know, somebody's bootleg mix CD was found its way to the flea market. You know, I was like, what is this? I open it up, and sure enough, somebody just sharpied what it was, what the tracks were. Someone just someone just made their own mix CD of like a bunch of opera singers or something like that. This thing found its way to the flea market. Oh, well, well maybe one of these years they'll get busted, but there were so few people there, I don't know how they're making any money off of this place. So every time I go there, the place is like deserted, so I don't know. So yeah, didn't exactly work out. And of course, between all of these secondhand places, I didn't see anything older than PS2. I think what's going on is there's probably some resellers around here. I know there's one hobby store, little mom and pop, a couple towns away, that actually sells retro games. They probably clean out all the yard sales. And then there's a flea market with a reseller who's probably doing this kind of stuff as well. And I probably should decide what I want to get before I go there to see if they're selling at eBay prices. Because anybody offline who sells at online prices is overpricing. That's basically the way it works. The eBay prices that people refer to again and again and again for selling used games are often including things like eBay fees and stuff. So if somebody sells a game for like 20 bucks, there'll probably be a sizable chunk of that taken away because of service fees, consumer protections, listing fees, and things like that. So it's not a good idea if anybody who's trying to resell for eBay prices is basically ripping off everybody, because not only is there that issue and the administrative overhead so that the person selling on eBay for those prices doesn't get that kind of money, people had to burn $4 a gallon gas to go out to this place. So, and they had to waste their time as well. So I don't know what kind of dollar value you want to put on the time you spend on a weekend, but at least the $4 a gallon gas should count for something, especially when all these resellers and flea markets are a town or two away. So yeah, eBay prices that aren't on the internet are basically a rip-off. So I agree fully with the game hunters whose channels I've been watching that say that kind of stuff too. So last place I tried looking was the Salvation Army thrift store, the only chain thrift store anywhere near here that isn't at least 45 minutes away. So I went out to that place, and the rule of thumb with the Salvation Army store around here is the Salvation Army store is pretty much all clothes. Yup! That's pretty much what it was. Clothes. Lion's share of the store, secondhand clothes. If I want to try and find cheap clothes there or something, I know where to go. Basically, there used to be some consignment shops that would be mostly clothes around here, but they've closed up shop with the recession and everything. But the Salvation Army place, plenty of that, and there's charity vouchers too. If people are really, really poor, they can get a charity voucher and get clothes that way. So, of course, there's going to be lots of clothes in the Salvation Army store. So, yeah. Anyways, there was some stuff here and there, but for the most part, it was similar to the flea markets that I've been to. Basically, the way these places work is you can pretty much count on these secondhand places being like the last refuge for old tube TVs or old VCRs that you don't know if they work or not, and they're sold as is. So after all that disappointment, I just went to Walmart, took care of some supplies and groceries, and called it a day. And you know you've been dealing with seedy secondhand stores when Walmart is a breath of fresh air. I would have personally preferred Target over Walmart. Much better environment to be shopping in than all these folks that think that Walmart's always cheaper, and so they're flooding around the place. And the whole people of Walmart thing in this local area is worth its own discussion, so I'll save that for later. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. And wake-up call that, yeah, this place is plagued by resellers. I probably have to see if the resellers are selling at internet prices to see if they're even worth it. Otherwise, just buy stuff off the internet and call it a day. You know, a lot of people complain about what the internet has done to brick-and-mortar retail, and what it's done even to secondhand retail as well. But when you look at people pulling these stunts, like charging online prices after people burn $4 a gallon gas to get out to where they're doing business, and of course not taking into account administrative fees and stuff like that, you gotta wonder sometimes if the internet's negative effect on brick and mortar stuff is because the folks trying to do brick and mortar business are a bunch of idiots that don't know how this all works, or they're banking that people aren't going to smarten up and that all their customers are going to be suckers who aren't going to know about this kind of stuff. I don't know. What's a retro gamer to do? And the whole reason why I even wanted to find any retro games at all is because the whole Shovel Knight thing. I've been playing some Shovel Knight lately on Steam, and been thinking about getting back into some more retro games and some side-scrollers. And I also want to get a second NES game of some sort to see if the NES part of my retro duo kicked the bucket. Been having a hard time with the one and only Bugs Bunny Birthday Blowout cartridge that I have that I just got just to see how the NES part of the retro duo worked back in the day. So, yeah. I'm thinking either just get an old NES with a new 72-pin connector for that kind of stuff, or get a Super Retro Trio with a Super Retro Advance and skip the Retron 5 if I want to mess around with Famiclones anymore. I'll figure it out. Not like I have any shortage of stuff to play on newer systems. Maybe I'll just wait for now. I mean, it's not like I'm running out of games to play anytime soon or anything like that. It's not even close. So yeah, pretty interesting experience. Taught me a few lessons about don't believe everything I see on the internet. Of course, not like I didn't already believe that. It's just I kind of forgot because you don't deal with stuff like this for a while. You can get kind of rusty at it. So, this story will be continued at some point. Question is when and how. Anyways, till next time. This is Multimedia J signing off. Thanks for stopping by.